Have you heard what middle schoolers are eating for lunch these days? Find out on this next episode of Digest This.
Welcome to Digest This, the show that helps you revolutionize your digestive health. Here are your hosts, Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato.
Hello and welcome to Digest This. I'm Dr. Liz Cruz and I've got Tina Nunziato sitting right here by my side. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are one of our regular listeners, thank you so much for being on this journey with us and for being loyal to our show. And if you are a first-time listener, we welcome you and we're so excited that you're here. Please go back and check out our podcast library. Over 350 podcasts in there, all sorts of topics in regards to digestion and health and wellness. All right? Mm-hmm. So, do you know what the middle schoolers are eating at school these days?
Well, the question is what they're not eating.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, this is news to me.
Yeah, so I wanted to do this podcast because, our kids are back to school for the most part, and our girls are in middle school, they're in 8th grade, and apparently when you're in 8th grade, it's cool to not eat at lunch.
Okay.
And the girls were telling me that many kids do not eat lunch at school. They just sit there. Obviously the school lunches are pretty gross. So apparently by 8th grade they figured this out. And
but they don't bring anything to school?
They don't bring anything, and then they just sit there at lunch and they don't eat. And that's concerning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When I heard this, I was like, what do you mean they don't eat? Oh yeah, they just sit there, or they just go out to recess, they don't eat anything. Well, how many, it's pretty much everybody. I mean, we're the only ones that have a lunch. I'm like, come on, that can't be. No, that's pretty much, I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And the reason I wanted to do this podcast was because, we're having so many mental health issues right now with our young teens, our teenagers, and not eating can contribute to that. And I'm not quite sure if parents know that. And so I wanted to talk about that because when you're not nourishing your body throughout the day, and you're depleted, basically. And one of the girls was telling me that they have a friend who, a lot of times after lunch, she spends a lot of time in the bathroom crying, and because she has anxiety or depression. And it's and this is one of the girls that doesn't eat, and I'm thinking to myself, it just can't be good for these kids to consistently be missing a meal every day, just because it's just, when you're not fed, it's really hard for your body to function properly.
Absolutely. I mean, your blood sugar falls, and who knows if some of these kids aren't even eating breakfast.
Right.
Right. I mean, I would venture to guess that there's probably a good percentage of those kids that also do not eat breakfast. Yeah. So now you've got a little body that's fasting.
And it's going through a ton of changes.
Exactly. Making hormones, all sorts of things going on in that teenage body, and they're not nourishing themselves and giving their body the nutrients that it needs to be able to make the hormones, the other chemicals that are needed. I mean, thousands and thousands of chemicals that our body needs to just function. Okay, for your brain to function, for your hand to function, where you can move it and write and do things. I mean, that's really surprising and shocking to me. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that until our girls told us that, and it is sad. Yeah. It is sad.
Yeah, and I didn't realize actually how much families rely on school for food. I mean, that actually came to my attention because you brought up, the kids probably aren't even eating breakfast.
Right.
There's a lot of families who can't afford to feed their kids, and they rely on school.
Well, I think we really realized that during COVID,
right?
Because the schools continued to give out, meals, and I remember thinking, what is this all about? And then when I read about it, I was like, we were like surprised. We didn't realize how many people rely
families, how many families rely on those meals. And some of those kids are able to get breakfast, but you're probably right. I mean, if they're not eating lunch, they're probably not eating breakfast either. One of the girls said that the kids feel like if they don't eat, they won't gain weight. So a lot of it could be body image, right? I mean, again, their bodies are going through so many changes right now. But you know, again, it is concerning, and I just want, like, I want parents to be able to talk to their kids about this and help them understand the importance of food.
Sure.
Because the schools aren't doing it. I mean, they're not teaching the kids and forcing the kids to eat, obviously. So just want everybody to understand how important it is to eat food.
Absolutely.
Because the bottom line is if you're not giving your body the food that it needs to produce healthy cells and healthy chemicals and hormones and everything, the body is very smart, and the body is going to rob from itself to get these things. And that's why I try to explain to patients as we're getting older and we start to have digestive issues, is that, you know, some people won't eat because they're having digestive issues. Every time I eat, it hurts, so I don't eat. Okay, not eating is not an option. Like, you have to eat food.
Right.
So we have to find a way for you to digest better and help, you know, absorb vitamins and minerals. But it's just so important for kids, especially at their age, to make sure they understand the importance of food.
Absolutely.
And eating at least a sandwich and some chips and an apple or something, you know, try to get a fruit in with some type of, you know, even if it's peanut butter and jelly, you know. I know a lot of parents don't have a lot of time in the morning to be preparing, you know, meals for their kids, but it's not hard to put together a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and throw an apple in the backpack, you know, and
That's
just
right.
go, right? So just want to encourage parents to talk to their kids about what they are eating. Some parents might think their kids are eating at school, right? And they don't realize that they're just sitting there and not eating anything. So talk to your kids. You know, are you eating at school? What are you eating? Are you eating every day, right? Just talk about the importance of food with them.
And even if you don't have middle school, you know, teenagers in your home, you know, if you're a grandparent and you have grandchildren that are in that age bracket, or if you're an aunt or an uncle, or, you know, I mean, look, this is apparently an ongoing, you know, issue. This is truly a problem that our children are not nourishing themselves. And so, you know, I'm sure most of you know somebody that is a middle school teenager, you know, and my guess is that this is probably even happening in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know, our son this year is making his own lunch. He's a junior. And, but I know one of the things we talked about, and I think we talked about it in our podcast because he brought it up about how many students are on antidepressants. And, you know, so, but we'll have to ask him about the eating, but I would venture to guess that that's also going on in high school, because in high school, they're still developing, you know, there's still teenagers that are developing. So, but yes.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of, I mean, there's just a lot of mental health issues right now. You know, a lot of anxiety and depression with these kids. I mean, especially coming off of COVID. Like, if it wasn't bad before, it's really bad now.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And every single thing that you can do to help mitigate anxiety and depression, so that by the time they get to high school, they're not on meds, because that's typically what happens, right? We start having the issues in middle school, and then when they continue, they get into high school, parents are like, well, we don't know what else to do. Let's put them on meds. You know, it's the worst thing. Like, I mean, if you absolutely have to be on meds, okay, but I always try other things first with parents and kids. So again, I do also do consults with families that have teenagers that are struggling with these things, because we can, you know, maybe try some other things to see if we can get them better before putting them on meds. But you know, if we can help mitigate it and teach kids about food when they're young, and they can help, you know, and helps alleviate some of that anxiety and depression and sadness, you know, in general with kids, just because they're nourishing themselves, that would be awesome. So that would be the goal. If you know of anybody, or, you know, think anybody could benefit from talking to us, please let us know. You just go to our website. There's a link there on the front where you can schedule a wellness consult for free. So that's the best way to get started if you need help in this area.
That's right. And this isn't just for adults. I mean, our gastroenterology practice is for adults. We don't see pediatrics. However, the wellness part of it, that consult that Tina was talking about, which is completely free, and it's by telephone, so you can do it from anywhere. That's not only for adults, but even kids. Though we do prefer that an adult be on the call with the child when they're, if there's a consult. Absolutely.
Yeah, if the child is under 18, I do want the parent on the phone with us as we're talking. But sometimes, again, especially as they get older, sometimes it's good to hear the message from someone else aside from a parent. So if you're struggling with your kids, like, getting a message through them about whatever it is, whether it's anxiety and depression, the importance of food, whatever, it might be good to have it come from someone else aside from you. That someone else could be us.
Absolutely.
If that's something you need help with.
Yeah, and I actually want to say one more thing is that, if your child, if you're struggling with your kids eating even at home, even at home, you can't get them to eat greens. That seems to be a big one that we hear, even with adults, like they're not getting enough greens. Please go to our website. We have a product that's called Gastro Greens, which is basically a ton of different greens that have been pulverized into powder and are in a capsule form. And, your kids could be taking that, all right?
They can either take them as a capsule, or the capsule can be taken apart and the powder can be put in things.
Right.
So for little ones who aren't eating their greens, you can put it in smoothies, you can put it in, any other type of snack that they're eating. You can mix it in, and like an applesauce, whatever. But at least it's a powdered green that gives them the greens that they need. It's much better than taking like a gummy vitamin.
Please, no gummy vitamins.
Gummy vitamins are just loaded with sugar.
Yeah, no gummy vitamins. Too many chemicals, and it's just not the best way for your intestine to absorb the vitamins. So anyways, so yeah, please connect with us. Tina told you how you can connect with us. If you have not rated us, please give us a rating and give us a 5, because that'll actually help other people just like you to find us easier. And lastly, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited that you are on this journey with us, and we will catch you on the next podcast.
Thank you for joining Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato. To learn more about their revolutionary products and services, go online to www.drlizcruz.com.